I guess you went today with her. You went there before?
Yeah, this is my second time going to that
Oh, this is your
place.
second time? Oh, okay. Yeah, that place, I go there probably, I would say about once every month or two.
Yeah.
And they have this thing that's crazy. It's like this scallion pancake, and they wrap it around this like cold beef thing. It's almost like a roast beef, but like a Chinese roast beef. But the roast beef is like seasoned. So it has like star anise and like Chinese parsley, which is cilantro, and then they put hoisin sauce on it, and then they roll it up in a scallion. Oh my gosh, that
sounds good.
So good.
Everything I've had there is
it's amazing, right?
The pork bun, we had the pork soup. And with the like udon noodles. Oh man.
Yeah, that place is good. Shanghai Dumpling House in Edison. I know they have another place called Shanghai Noodle House. It's also in Edison. It's like off Route 1 or something. I don't know if they're connected. Maybe they are, but I looked at their menu. It's kind of similar, but the Noodle House had more things, and then the Dumpling House was very focused on the dumplings, like their specialty. So yeah, I love that place. That's like I love, and they had the bubble tea and everything. Yeah, it's good. But so I have to sync the mics.
Okay.
So I'm gonna clap really loud. All right, we are on episode 7, I think. It's been quite an interesting journey doing this and talking to every one of you guys at the gym. I think this specific episode, for me, means a lot. I mean, I don't know, how you feel about it, but I know, like, you've spent some time with me outside of the gym, and that one time we had, I think it was like dinner. It was like a early dinner or something. But you shed a lot of insight to me that really changed my life, and like I really was looking forward to doing this with you, because what you said to me, I feel like could help so many other people, especially guys out there that are struggling with their confidence. Because that was my number one killer, was like, I thought I was just a loser, like, okay, I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu, I'm pretty good at this, but when it boils down to it, like, I'm not really doing anything, but you kept like peeling the layers away for me, and then just helping me to see, the real stuff, and what really matters in life, and you really helped me out. So I am really looking forward to doing this episode today. I think everybody I've done so far, they're guys that I really respect and look up to. There's only been a couple that I was like, oh man, this is gonna be something special to me, So this is definitely one of those episodes. So today I have Sung Kim, who's a radiation oncology MD, right, from Robert Wood Johnson.
Yeah,
right?
I work for Rutgers, the Cancer Institute in New Jersey.
Okay. Rutgers. And then that's where I went to college. I have my diploma up there. You were also a Navy veteran, right? You received your BJJ purple belt. How recently ago? This was...
Oh, I don't know. I want to say maybe 4 months ago, something like that.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Sung is one of the toughest guys I know. Even and your stand-up too is very good. Like, you're just a tough guy. How old are you? I keep forgetting.
So I just turned 50.
Yeah, which is crazy, because you don't look 50. You don't fight like you're 50. You got like that fire still. You still go after people's heads. So
my age, Simon. The biggest thing is I'm just honestly glad to be out there with everybody. That's like the big thing for me. Every day I go out to the gym, and I'm like training with guys like you, and like in your 30s, and then guys in their 20s, and I'm just happy to be out there, to be perfectly honest, So it's.
But you're still hanging. That's the crazy thing, is you can hang with us, which is crazy. But and then lastly, one thing that I've looked up to you in a big light is. Your husband and your father of 2 very incredible girls. Like, I can't wait to get into that whole discussion. I just think you're such a good dad. I don't know too many fathers that spend time with their children, and even your relationship with Ella, like you guys train together. I can tell she respects you so much. Even though she might not act like it, like she might talk a lot of crap, but deep down when it comes to it, your daughter, she looks up to you with high regard. So before we get into everything, I kind of wanted to start with your military background. You never really got a chance to explain to me fully. I know you were on a submarine. I know you were in the Navy, but we never really dove deep into that. I'd really like to learn about that. So, first question is, what made you join? And tell me about your experiences in the Navy in general, the submarine that you're on, how long, what you guys did to entertain yourselves, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I joined the Navy through the Naval Academy. So I went to high school, believe it or not, in a little town in Kansas called Pittsburgh, Kansas.
I did not know that.
Yeah, tiny little town. My dad taught at Pittsburgh State University. And so, when it came time to college, it was like my dad, we never had a lot of money. So basically I could have gotten a free ride to Pittsburgh State University.
Wow.
So my dad goes, you can either go to Pittsburgh State University or you can go to a military academy. And so I started looking at my options. I wrote some letters, and I was fortunate enough to get nomination to the Naval Academy, and I got one to West Point too. And
wow.
And I was fortunate enough to get in, and I honestly, I think that was probably the biggest break of my life. You know what I mean? Just to be able to kind of go from that little town to go to the Naval Academy. And so I went there for 4 years. I majored in physics. And then afterwards, you got to choose your service branch, right? And so I went to submarines. So basically, when you do that, you have to train, right? So you have to go to like a nuclear power school. You have to work on. Wow. You have to go to work on a reactor plant. I went to Saratoga for a few months. You have to go to submarine school, and so you do that for like a year and a half. And then afterwards, I went to a submarine. I went to the USS Asheville, which is a fast attack submarine.
Oh my gosh!
It was built in Norfolk, and then we stayed there for like a while, and then we moved out to San Diego. And and I never deployed. Basically, it was a new construction, so we did a lot of like, testing and things like that, and engineering, and and like what do you do on a submarine? So, it's surprising. You would think in peacetime there's not that much, but actually when you go out to sea, and on a fast attack, you're out to sea kind of like half the time, and half the time you're in port. But you're always busy, and like what do you do? There's always 2 officers on watch at one time. One's in charge of the engineering and reactor plant. That's the engineering officer watch, and then the other guy is kind of driving the ship as officer of the deck. And so you're a lot of times you're on watch, or you have your own division and you have your own equipment and men that you're kind of in charge of. And a lot of times what we do is we drill a lot. We drill emergencies. Like if there's a fire, what do you do? Everybody puts on their gas mask and like goes to their station. Or what if a reactor coolant pump fails? What are you going to do to keep the reactor pump from melting down? And so a lot of times we spend drilling on like the worst situations. So that's kind of what we did out at sea. So it was pretty busy actually when you're out at sea. You're always doing some kind of exercise or something like that.
How deep are you?
Well, I can't really talk about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So you're deep down in the ocean. You can't really communicate with the outside world. It can't be busy. I understand it's busy, very busy, but there's obviously got to be some downtime, right? What did you guys do for fun? Like, how do you entertain yourselves in a little tiny? Was it even tiny? Like in the movies, they just show it's always like this, like you're almost claustrophobic.
It's pretty tight. It's not like that's not like Das Boat, But it's tight. Like there are 3 of us junior officers who lived in a little wardroom, which was like smaller than this little office, and like our beds were like fold out and stuff. But what do you do when you have time? Like there's not that much to do. Actually, the food is decent.
Really? How do you...
for like when you first get there, it depends on the cook, right?
Okay.
But if you have a decent cook, the food's pretty decent until the fresh food runs out, and then it's all fried. But what we used to always do is like if you have a lot of time people we watch movies, and the funny thing is like everybody would want to watch these like these martial arts movies. So I've seen like Lionheart like 5 times. Like Van Damme is really big on this stuff. So I've seen a lot of Van Damme movies, and you read a little bit.
The reason why I started martial arts.
But yeah, there's not a lot of room, and it's hard to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of room. Like there's a different type of submarine, which is like a ballistic missile submarine. They call it boomer, and those are bigger, right? Those are the ones where they carry these missiles and they just go and sit there, and supposedly they're a lot bigger. They have
like
a lot
the
more
Marriott.
room. We don't have a lot of room.
Yeah. You guys are like at a Holiday Inn, and then those guys got like a Marriott.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So how long would you be out for? Would you be out? Yeah.
So, like I said, I haven't gone on a real deployment, but the longest I was out there for was a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very long time.
Yeah, it's long enough for me.
Yeah. And then once you hit port, I guess, how many places have you gone in the world then?
I haven't gone to that many places. Like I said, it was a new construction, so a lot of stuff is like testing to make sure it's seaworthy, things like that. But we went to like Hawaii one time. Went on to the Bahamas and things like that, and we eventually got to go to San Diego, and that was our home port.
Was it like a celebration when you landed? You're like, finally, I can get on land, or?
Oh, it's after you've been out at sea for a while, I mean, it's amazing to be finally on land.
Yeah,
and like you realize that you just take like the basic things you take for granted, like sunlight. You know what I'm saying? Like sunlight, like being able to move around, having women around. I mean, there's a lot of things, and the fresh air, like just being able to poke your head out and see,
wow. Yeah.
There's a lot of things we take for granted that
you just can't experience if you're not under the
unless
water.
you're deprived of that.
Yeah. Are there any guys that would wish to go back to sea as quick as possible? Like they hated being on land?
There are people. It's really funny, like once we would get on land, I'd be so happy to be going out and like being able to go exercise and meet people or whatever. But there are people who love going out to sea, and it's just been their life. And like a lot of sometimes the kind of the older like enlisted guys, especially, like they love being out at sea. They love the whole routine of it. And and if their family just gets used to it, their wife probably just gets used to that kind of rhythm. And there are guys who they come in and they can't wait to go out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you, it's for the future people that are interested in going into this field? I think is your daughter interested in joining the military? She was talking about
so that's really a surprise lately, because I've never pushed my daughter to go in the military ever, ever. But it's interesting. Lately, she's been talking about joining the Air Force, and it's just like out of the blue.
Has that saddened you? You're like, why not the Navy? Or
no, I don't think that at all.
Okay.
I think she ought to go, wherever she thinks it'll be best for her.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what advice would you have for somebody interested in going down that path in terms of military? You've had all the regular basic training just like any other person enlisted, and you've then pursued a specific path, right? I guess for people that are thinking about it, what are some tips or advice that you would give to them that are interested in pursuing something in that realm?
I honestly think joining the military is a really great thing for really anybody, and I think it would help so many people. Any specific tips? I don't know, but what I would tell people is that a lot of the things that you think you're going to get out of it, the things that you'll get out of it are maybe things that you don't really know about yet. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, Simon, when I thought about going to the military, I thought I was going to come out like this, like super soldier, and like be able to like do incredible things, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like a high school kid when I joined, but it was, it's totally not like that. It's the opposite. Like my experience was, I don't know if you know much about the military academies, but the first year of a military academy is essentially hazing. Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
You have a plebe year where you're kind of treated as like a subhuman.
Wow.
Right? So, like, you're not allowed to talk to people. Like,
This is good advice to give.
They abuse you. And, like, so, I mean, it's not... I mean, it's not like that for everybody. I mean, this is for a military academy, and this is kind of what I went through. And I think it's a little gentler these days, but
softer generation.
but it's just different, you know.
Yeah.
And so the things that I learned from my military experience were not how to like shoot people or like do all these amazing things. It was really I think I learned a lot about myself. I became very humble. Because they force it on you, like that plebe year, they literally take away every single thing that you think makes you you. And I'll say, when I went to the academy when I was a high schooler, like what I thought was me was like I thought I was like a really smart kid who was really good at sports. And then when I went there, all of a sudden I'm nothing. I'm getting C's, and I'm not even good to make the varsity tennis team. And I'm like, what? Like everything that I thought I was, like it was just gone.
Yeah,
in a matter of weeks.
Yeah,
right. Wow. And my head is shaved. I don't even have my own underwear. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like every little thing.
Wow,
so,
that's crazy.
So like really, what I learned out of all that, the real thing is that just humility, you know.
Yeah.
And
wow.
But you know, when all that stuff is gone, you know, there is something left, and there's a resilience. And so that's what I got out of that. Like, no matter, you could take anything away from me, but I'll be all right. I'll be resilient, and I'll keep going, and I'll keep fighting. And after that year, which was really, it's hard for everybody, but you know, I came back and I did better. But I'll tell you that first year was a really challenging experience. It was like the biggest ego crusher that you can even imagine. And but if you can come back, you know, I think you learn a lot about yourself. And I would suspect that kind of stuff is what a lot of people learn from the military.
Yeah,
you know?
That sounds very similar to like when you first start jiu-jitsu and you're just getting tapped by everybody, and it's like, what is going on? And your ego is just diminishing until you push through and you make it to the next year.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I'm either a blue belt now or I got a couple stripes on my belt, you know. Right. So
that's true, and I think that's a big thing. I think that's one of the great things about jiu-jitsu is it really teaches you that in a very concrete way. No matter what your title, you know, whatever it is, there's some blue belt out there who can tap you 3 times.
Yep, tear your
it's
foot
very
off.
humbling. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
when he was a blue belt.
Yep.
So you got actually, now that I'm thinking about the Naval Academy, did you do? I know that the like boxing there's kind of big. Did you get into boxing at all over there, or any type of combat sport?
So they back when I was there. Now I graduated a while ago. I graduated in '89. Okay. So they used to teach some boxing. You had to take like I forget, like a year of boxing, just kind of basic, and you know that was fun. And I think. What else? We did a little bit of wrestling too.
We did, okay.
But he wasn't like, you know, it wasn't real hardcore. No.
Did you guys do like smokers?
They did. They had smokers, and they were really good smokers.
Yeah.
And
did you do any?
I didn't do it personally because that's one thing I regret is I wished I joined like because they have a boxing club. But I always wanted to be a varsity athlete, so I knew I couldn't make the tennis team. The writing was also I played squash, and I made. I have no idea.
Oh wait, that's the game where you hit.
It's sort of like racquetball with like a ball and a racket.
That's squash. Yeah.
And you know it was cool. I made the varsity team eventually, but I always kind of thought maybe I might have enjoyed boxing more. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, your hands are pretty good, considering what what you're capable of at the gym. So, yeah, that's interesting. So you went from Naval Academy, and then from there you went into medicine. How? And I mean, you would think nuclear reactor, working on submarine. What did you actually do on the submarine? Were you nuclear reactor? Is that?
Well, every officer on a submarine is trained to run the reactor. To kind of supervise that.
Yeah. What was did you have a specific role?
Yeah, I mean, you're a division officer, so when I was on the ship, I had a few divisions. I started with electrical division, and then eventually I went to like sonar and fire control and communicator.
Okay. So you come from a background where it probably would have been more of a fit to be an engineer, but you went into medicine. How did you even get into medicine? What was the driving factor that said, hey, I should become a doctor, even though I have all this training and this understanding of electronics and nuclear reactors?
Yeah, so after I got to my ship, after a while, I realized that it wasn't quite for me. Like, I didn't want to make it my whole career.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate everything that the Navy has done for me, and I think it was a very worthwhile experience. But I just didn't want to do it forever.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I was going to get out, and I got out at 5 years. And so when I had like a year and a half or so to go, I started thinking about what I was going to do, and really, like, I decided to do it when I was still on the submarine. And what I wanted to do, I just wanted something where I could kind of see the result of the fruit of my labor every day, and something that was worthwhile and help people, you know. And really, that those were kind of the premises, you know. And I thought about it, and eventually, I just somewhere, you know, while I was on the sub, I decided that's what I want to do. I want to be a doctor.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of like Asian kids are like groomed to be doctors. And things.
Yeah.
And my dad never really wanted that.
Push that?
You know, it's kind of funny. My dad,
that's really weird.
I might be the only Asian guy who disappointed his father by becoming a doctor, you know?
Wait, what did your dad want to?
Because my dad, he you know, he was a grew up in the time of the Korean War.
Okay.
And so, like, guys who grew up at that time, basically the U.S. military saved Korea, you know, and so he loved the military, and so his ambition for me, honestly, would have been to to be a high ranking officer. I mean, he wanted me to be an admiral or something.
Oh, my goodness.
And I realized after a while that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And so.
Wow. Do you have any brothers or sisters or anything?
I have one younger brother.
Oh, did he go down that path to please your father? No.
So he did. My brother is, so I'm a radiation oncologist. So my brother is a dosimetrist who's the guy.
Yes, you told me about that. Yeah.
He basically he basically works on computers, and he comes up with a radiation plan for patients. They
do really well too, dosimetry. I was looking into the salary and things like that because I wasn't sure what I wanted to pursue after. I was contracting for such a long time at Johnson & Johnson until I finally landed a position. But you told me about that position.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I don't even know if a lot of people know if that even exists.
Right.
So if people out there are, you know, wondering like, hey, what are some things I could do with my life? Dosimetry is pretty, I mean, you make pretty good money, and the qualifications is specifically you have to get the certification.
Right.
And then I don't even know if you require a degree, or maybe like at least an associate or something like that, but maybe you do need a 4-year degree. I forget what it was.
I'm not totally sure. I think you might need a 4-year degree. But the training is not that long. It's
like a year.
Years.
Yeah. Oh, it's a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it's really a hidden gem of a job.
Yeah.
It pays well. It's
your
like
hours are really good too.
Hours
right?
are good. It's pretty intellectually like stimulating. So I think that's a good job. Actually, a radiation therapist is also a good job.
Yeah.
Like the people who actually treat the patients. You know, so that pays pretty well. It's got a lot of patient interaction. Like when the patients come back to see us, like, you know, they don't necessarily come back to see the doctor. The first person, when they come to visit the doctors for a follow up, the people they go to see to talk to is the therapist.
Wow, interesting.
Those are the ones they interact with. You know, every day for 6
very
or 7
fulfilling.
weeks.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, look into that radiation therapy, dosimetrist, things like that. So, from the military, I guess you answered the question on how you got to thinking of even becoming a doctor. You just had a eureka moment And then how did you pursue it then? Like you got out of military school, and then what did you do after? Did you like sign up immediately for, take tests? Like what did you?
Man, I tell you, that was a struggle in and of itself, because I came out and I had never taken a single biology class in college. I was a physics major, so I took engineering and math and stuff. And so I had no idea what I was doing. And honestly, like, it's funny, like it's a lot of steps of the way I found that there's always someone who's helped me, you know what I mean? And like, I was stationed in San Diego at the time, and like, I knew this guy who like said, you should go see this guy, Paul Saltman at UC San Diego. And I just, I just called the guy up, and he used to agree to meet with me, and he was this professor there, and he just advised me about things and told me kind of gear me towards classes I should take, and then I signed up for the MCAT, and the guy just helped me for just out of the kindness of his heart, and I'm really grateful to him. It turns out, it's ironic is that for the first maybe 5 years that I treated at the Cancer Institute, I treated prostate cancer, and when I graduated from residency and everything, I kind of wanted to reach out to this guy Paul Saltman to let him know, thanks a lot, and it turns out that he was a prostate cancer patient.
That's so crazy,
right? And he actually had passed away from prostate cancer.
Wow.
But anyway, I mean, it really was an ordeal, and I'll tell you something. I didn't even get into med school that first year. Like I went and I talked to you about the academy, and like my grades weren't terrific. Like that first year, my grades tanked.
Yeah.
The next 3 years, I did pretty well in my physics classes and stuff, but still, I ended up with like a 3.2, which is pretty good for the academy, but
not good.
It's not great for pre-med.
Yeah.
And then I had to take the MCAT, and it was a struggle, but I ended up doing actually pretty well on the MCAT, and I think that along with my academy experience eventually saved me. And so even that first year, it was tough, man. I was like, I was trying to get married. I was trying to get to med school. I didn't get anywhere. And then that second year was, I think, my second big break. I got into Yale med school, and like, it's just like out of the blue. And I tell you, like, it's funny when I tell this story, because I almost didn't even fill out the application, because I thought that second year I was applying everywhere, because like I just got to get in anywhere, and I almost didn't apply. But then I was like, what the heck? I'll just do either Yale or Harvard, and I ordered both applications, and the Yale one was shorter, and so I applied there. And later on, I kind of looked into it, and what it turns out to be is that every year Yale's a really great school. They're very great to their students, and basically every year they take one military guy. And that's what I've seen every year, and basically that year I was the guy.
Wow.
So that.
Look at a draw.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of guys that I've had on the show so far, a credit to their success, just being somewhere at the right time, or just having some luck on their side, whatever you want to call it. I think that we can put so much on ourselves to make something happen sometimes, and when things don't happen, like, we get depressed and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's just being at the right place at the right time, where things fall in line, so it's pretty amazing. What was your experience like, I guess, in the medical school? You said you were trying to get married, and like, how did you, I guess, financially take care of yourself? Like that first year you said you didn't get into med school. How did you survive after?
Dude, we were poor, Simon. I mean, Amy and I were like, we were living in San Diego, and I met the second guy who really helped me. This guy Paul Saltman, and I met this older Korean gentleman. His name was Sun Lee, and he was this guy who. He was like the founder of microsurgery, like suturing these little vessels, and like he had this lab in San Diego, and I got hooked up with him somehow. Like my fiance Amy met him, and so I was like I would have done anything, you know what I mean? And so I would go to his lab, and I would go in the morning. I would clean out the rat cages, and like I would feed the rats. and then he would just have these little experiments with, and he would teach us how to do suture like rat kidneys and like do rat like kidney transplantations and stuff like that. And so I spent like a year and a half doing that, and I got paid a little bit of money, and in the meantime, my wife Amy was working. She was working like different jobs, and like there was a time she was working at a Japanese restaurant and stuff.
That's so funny, yeah.
So we were poor, but those are some of like the best memories that we have, because we had such a nice group of friends there, and we lived in UTC in San Diego, which is really nice. And
what is UTC?
It's University Town Center. It's like pretty close to UC San Diego. And to save money, like we had a roommate. Her name is Vivian. So it was three of us living in this little
That's
apartment.
So funny.
And we just had a circle of like 6 or 7 friends, and and we had a lot of fun that year, especially after I finally got in. Like, and I had another 6 months, and then we just had a good time.
Wow, yeah. That's such a. I mean, I don't think I remember this part, or maybe you didn't talk about it, but that's incredible.
But Simon, we were poor.
Yeah,
I mean, we were like poor. Like, what I remember about that time is like sometimes we wouldn't know how we were gonna pay the rent, and like one time, Amy got bumped into, her rear bumper got by a car. So we got like $800 from the insurance company, but we didn't repair the bumper. We paid the rent. And the other thing I remember is that like a lot of times we didn't have a lot of money, so I would go to like Burger King, and they had like Whoppers for $1, so I get 2 of them, and like that'd be like that.
Save it, put it in the fridge.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I can just only imagine that's like grind mode, right? Like how I think I come across this question a lot, right, with the other guys. They've faced a lot of challenges, right, where they hit this wall where it's like, man, how are we gonna make it to the next thing, or how can we keep going? And how many people would have just been like, you know what, I don't think med school is it. You probably should quit. I should just get a regular job and make some money, right? You had the qualifications. You could have gone back and probably been an engineer or something, but you stayed the course, right? And now you are pretty affluent in your field. How did you get through it? Like, what kept you going to not stop? Throw that towel in.
I don't know. That's just not what I do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I've talked to you about this before, that one of the things that I realized about myself, and one of the things I realized at the academy, and that taught me, is that I am not special. I really am not. Like, I'm a pretty smart guy, and I can do certain things, but there are like millions of guys like me. And so I honestly think that the only thing that has made me special is that I don't quit.
And you call that grit. Right.
I guess. I mean, I think that's the word for it. Mm-hmm. But that has been, I think, the story of my life. Like I just have not quit, and and I don't really quit in pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, like I kind of have a fear. Like if I start quitting in one thing, I'm gonna start quitting in other things, then I'm gonna lose everything that I ever had.
Wow.
Because that's what I found, is that's the only thing that makes things work for me, Simon. You know?
There's been studies about that with grit, and I think one of the points that I'm trying to get across in this series that I'm doing is with every guy that I've interviewed, that there's nothing really makes any of us really special, like you said, but there's a quality or a character that separates those who succeed at something they're pursuing after and those who decide to not. Because they decided to quit, throw the towel in, and that one factor is the grit. How much punishment you can take yet keep going. So we talked about that, and it kind of like lit up some light bulbs in my head, and I was like, man, I need to work on this, and this is something I need to grow in. Yeah.
I think everybody, like, when you look at people, a lot of times you just see the finished product, right? And you think, and you look at somebody and you think, man, like, I wish I had this, or how did they get that? But you a lot of times you don't see all the stuff that they went through to get there. And it's honestly, it's like the same for everybody, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I think even with jiu-jitsu, right? It's like we see the black belts, but we don't, know their path and how they
Yeah.
got there. Or even the guys that are world champions. It's like, oh, they're world champions, whatever. But there's a reason why they're a world champion. They never quit. They kept going, and that journey that they went on is probably something incredible. That a lot of us can't fathom or really relate to. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with me, during that time, because it helped me to develop like something inside of myself that I was like, all right, I really need to have some grit here. If I'm really gonna even produce this project, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I was like, okay, I'm getting married now, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. But I have to find the time. I have to just keep grinding. If I don't grind, then I'm gonna stop something else. If I didn't pursue after this, I would have quit something else that I would have done. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that insight with me. So moving on, what made you choose radiation oncology as your focus, and you're also specifically head and neck, correct? Mm-hmm. What made you go, okay, this is what I want. Yeah. This is the area of medicine I want to study.
So, I'd given up a lot to go into medicine, and I wanted to find something, Simon, that I really liked. I wanted to find something that I could love. You know what I mean? And so, honestly, I tried everything. I tried so many things. I tried ENT. I tried urology. I tried. I tried. Looked at transplantation.
Oh wow!
And honestly, I looked at so many things, and I didn't really like anything. And then and this is the third person who helped me, is my current boss, Bruce Hafty. I met him, and I spent a little time in radiation, and I just realized this is for me.
This is wow.
Because it's like for me, it's like a great marriage of a lot of things. I mean, there's technology, there's a lot of patient care. You're dealing with cancer patients. I think it's really worthwhile. You get a very special bond with your patients a lot of times. So it was after a couple of weeks rotating with them, I knew that was for me. Wow. And then, but even then, there's people who specialize in every site. And the reason why I like head and neck so much is that head and neck is like head and neck cancer is a really serious disease, and a lot of times it's life or death.
Yeah.
But kind of going through that fight together with your patients, you get a very special relationship. I just think it's very worthwhile. And when they come back to me, a lot of times they'll come back like a couple of years later, and they're doing great, and they're going on with their life. I mean, it's very rewarding.
Wow.
Wow. But the thing that I like about it technically is that what I like about my job a lot is the anatomy. And so the head and neck anatomy is like probably the most complicated in the body. And the thing, I just like it, and it's kind of a weird thing that I have. And I will just take a head and neck anatomy book, and I'll just flip through it, and I'll have seen it again, and I'll go through it, and I can spend an hour, and I'll go through it, and I'll pick up one extra detail. And the thing is, like, I just like it, and it's just kind of one of those weird things quirks that I have, and that quirk, I think, helps me in my job, because it's something it's not a big chore for me to do that.
Yeah.
And so it helps me to be, I think, good at my job.
Wow. Is the head and neck specifically not including the brain, like areas around the face and the neck, or is it also including the
so
brain?
That's not, so for our specialty, that's not including the brain. So
that's
okay,
different. I got you.
So this is mostly like guys who smoke, or they get a virus, and they get a cancer in their tonsil or their base of tongue, or something like that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What is there a very common cancer that you come across a lot in your field? So a lot of cancers that I see, I mean, most cancers are either caused by one of two things. And that's what I tell my patients. They're either caused because of smoking, and those are kind of the traditional cancers that you get. And then these days, a lot of them are caused by viruses, HPV virus. Really?
Right?
Wow.
So HPV, it's kind of an epidemic. There's a lot of people who get HPV cancer, and that kind of cancer usually occurs either in tonsils or base of tongue.
Wow.
So it's a different mix. Like 50 years ago, it would have been mostly the the cigarette caused cancers, but now it's different, So yeah, it's kind of an evolving field, because of the HPV.
Wow. So I guess the number one thing, if you were to give advice to your everyday person, right? If there was one thing to stay the heck away from, the number one thing you would say is cigarettes. Cigarettes.
Yeah. That's and not just for head and neck cancer, but for everything. Your lungs, your cardiovascular. I mean, cigarettes are probably the worst thing that people do to themselves, I think.
Wow. That's that's incredible. I mean it makes sense, but when you think about it, it's so simple, right? Just stop smoking.
Yeah.
It's people's vices, right? It's like they can't stop, and then to realize that there's an amount of damage that can, it could do
that you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is financial. Like cigarettes are expensive. I sometimes think about it. Like if you took all the money, like people like pay
it's like 10 or 11 I think now
for and people smoke 1 or 2 pack. What if you took that money and you just put it in a mutual fund? I mean,
multi-millionaire, buy some bitcoins with it.
Yeah.
Wow. So stay away from cigarettes pretty much is the number one thing you would recommend people.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. Yeah. And then, HPV, that's a sexually transmitted disease. So, I mean, you just have to look at that. You have to be careful. It's not free,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Out of all the cases you've worked on, what has been the most interesting to you? Any specific case that you're like, or maybe you can't talk about, I don't know.
Well, anatomy wise, like what we do is like as radiation oncologist, I get a CAT scan, right, and I we have them make a mask, and we get a CAT scan, and basically we kind of color in on each slice of that CAT scan where the dose goes, and so.
Oh wow!
So a lot of times the anatomy is very interesting, and so. It's all pretty interesting. And I think nasopharynx cases are pretty interesting.
What is that?
So nasopharynx cancer is actually indigenous to, because it's caused by another virus, EBV. And there's a lot of it in like South Asia.
Really?
And so that area is very kind of central in the head. And so it goes a lot of places. The planning is pretty complex. So.
Oh man, that makes me think of my friend. So he has something where he forms a lot of polyps. Mm-hmm. Inside of his nose, and he's gotten multiple surgeries, and they keep growing back. Could that lead to something like that?
There sometimes
he is like Asian from
yeah. So those kinds of things, sometimes you can develop. Usually those are benign, right? Like those kind of polyps. Occasionally they can develop and they can become like a squamous cell carcinoma. So it's something to watch, but
not freak himself out.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I'll let him know. But I got some information for you from my oncology friend. But what was the lifestyle like when you were be a doctor in the field or working, even currently? Do you find your hours to be workable? Is it something that you would recommend, kids that are growing up and like, hey, I want to be a doctor. It's like, well, do you really want to be a doctor? Because this is what it takes.
Well, as a radiation oncologist, I think we're a good specialty, because I think you can have a good kind of mix of lifestyle. I mean, the pay is pretty good, and then the hours usually are pretty good.
Oh, okay.
So I usually don't work on the weekend, right? I take call maybe once out of every 7 weeks or something like that. So usually the hours are pretty reasonable. Like a lot of people work, maybe a lot of people work 9 to 5, that kind of thing. I mean, to be honest, there's other stuff you can do, and so I have some roles, administrative roles. So my hours, I work usually like 8 to maybe 6 or 7 usually. So, but still, it's a pretty, hours are reasonable. You can have a, pretty good family life.
Oh, good. Moving on, let's talk about your training background. So I know, or your martial arts background, I should say. You've told me you did Taekwondo prior to going to Brian's. You went to YB Choi's, right?
Yep.
Which is legit. Like, I think 3 out of the or no, now would be 4 out of all the episodes we've done so far. Everybody's been to YB Choi's,
Really?
or they've mentioned YB Choi.
Wow.
And yeah, he's like literally like I would say 5 minutes from here, and not even. But yeah, I guess that's where you started your martial arts. I don't know if you did anything prior to that.
I did a little bit
Oh, you did?
before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So, it's funny. When I started here, I wasn't really doing much of anything. I'd done a little Taekwondo before, and then it was like I was in my I don't want to say like early 40s, and I was like, man, I'm like stomach is getting bigger, my legs are getting skinnier. I didn't feel good, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I like things were starting to hurt, and I was like, man, I got to go back and do something. I hadn't really done a lot of regular exercise, and then I went back to YB Choi, and like, YB Choi is like the godfather of Taekwondo around these parts, man.
Yeah,
and like,
he is.
He's a great guy. He's in his mid 80s now.
Well, I never met him. I don't know.
Oh, you never met him?
Yeah, I don't know him.
He looks like he could fight. He could step in the ring
Are you
now.
serious?
And he's amazing, and he's like flexible, and like he's just a great guy, and like tough, and like there are people who stay with him and they stay with him for like 30 years.
Wow.
There are women there and like guys there who have been training with him forever.
Wow.
And I went there, and actually my whole family went there for a little while. I mean, it's mostly me and Ella, but he believes in like just grinding it out and like tough workout. Like his workouts are just so tough, and he doesn't. His motto is he goes around and yells while you're doing. He's like, no rest, never give up. So, but he got me in really good shape, and I went there for a few years,
wow.
and I even got a black belt from him, and but eventually, like I wanted to do something a little bit different, like Taekwondo, you kind of do the same katas and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, I'd seen the UFC, and I wanted to check it out, and so. Honestly, I just went online. I wanted to go join like an MMA gym and learn some jiu-jitsu, and I just went online and I Googled it, and a place near my house or near my work, and I saw I wanted to go to a place where I could take Ella and we could go train together, and I Googled it, and I just saw great comments about Brian, how he's like such a nice guy, and it's like a good atmosphere, and like that sounds a good place, and I went there, and that's what happened.
Then I met you, and this is like our old school. Well, I actually this is the shirt that I made when I had my t-shirt company, but this was like one of the first logos. I think I made this logo. I made all of the logos except for the ones before I was there, but yeah, it's so interesting, when people come into the school and they stay and they tell me about their experiences prior, and you can see it translates, right? Like even when you guys started kickboxing, like Ella's an animal. She should. I don't know why she's not. I mean, I think she should be fighting because she'll mow down some people. I don't want her to ruin her face or anything, but she's a little beast, and even jiu-jitsu. She probably should do at least a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments because her jiu-jitsu is so good. It's incredible how quick she is. And man, I don't know. You raised like a little animal there. She's a little beast. And then even yourself, you are one of the toughest guys that I know. You can hit and you can roll. Like you do them very well, both of them. It's not like oh, here's old man Sung. I don't want to hold pads for him. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to hold pads with Sung. Like he actually knows what he's doing and he actually hits good.
What though? It's funny is when the guys. They start talking about, and then they'll start comparing me to their dad. I remember that happened more than once, and they say, "Man, you're a lot better shape than my dad."
I don't know. You're a lot better shape than like my cousin that's like in his 30s or whatever, or 40s. But have you felt that it's helped you, like the martial arts, outside of just losing weight, to your day-to-day life? Like, has it helped you? In even in your medicine, career, or career in medicine, I'm sorry. Just the grind and the training.
Oh, I think it's helped me tremendously. I think, the exercise part of it has kind of kept me in shape. And I got to say, one thing I would say to everybody is that I think the worst thing you can do is to stop, right? Like, at some point, a lot of guys, like when you reach middle age, you stop doing much of anything. And then and I got to tell you, I feel so good. Like comparing myself at 40 to now, like I feel so much better now than I did at 40. Like I don't have any pain. Like there was a point when I wasn't doing any exercise. My knees hurt a lot. My back was starting to hurt. And now, like, I don't have pain anywhere. I feel great.
Yeah.
And thanks for the compliment about the jiu-jitsu and everything. But I got to tell you, one thing I realized about myself with jiu-jitsu is I'm not really that good at it. You know what I mean? Like there are guys like Jeff Brown, like you see, and they like they're just like animals, and they're just like. Well,
he's also 20, like 24,
yeah.
25.
But honestly, I don't. Even if I was 25, I don't. There's something about like me, like it's just not that natural for me.
Yeah.
And so, like I've seen about 3 generations of guys who came in after me, and they get better than me. They get better than me quick, and so. I mean, that's something like kind of older grapplers I think have to deal with, right? Like that there are guys who are going to come in and they're going to train way less than you, and they're just gonna speed right past you. Like they just have a capacity or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean they're also on YouTube watching all these videos, and then in the gym every single day. Like you have to take a lot of different things into account as well. I think your toughness and your it's not like whenever you roll. I'm like, oh yeah, here, let me just throw something around or whatever. You're still very strong. I think there's a level of, techniques or moves that you can still learn that'll help you, grow, get into that upper realm or whatever. But again, it's all about how much time you're spending into something. So I think you're only there like maybe 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah, 2 days a week.
Yeah, so even in that aspect, for the other guys that are out there, even maybe they're in the same shoes, I think the route that might be like, oh, maybe I should do a private lesson or something like that. I think just watching material and kind of visualizing it throughout the day, which is what I do. I don't train as much as I do anymore, but technically I'm a lot better than I was, way better. And I attribute that to a lot of just doing a lot of mental visual work. Actually, it's kind of interesting now because back in the day I couldn't even like know my lefts from my rights, right? It's like use your your left hand, right? Now when I coach guys, I just know which side it is because my brain, I'm visualizing it before they even do it. And so I'm able to like decipher, oh, that's his left foot or that's his right hand or whatever, or put your right arm into his left, and it starts to make sense because I've been visualizing it. Yeah. Prior to that, it's like you're just there to train, and then if you just go there to train, then you're only able to pick up whatever you're picking up there, right? So then when you're at home, if you're thinking about it, visualizing it, maybe you're looking at new moves, on DVDs or whatever, you got to be thinking about it, and then thinking about the concepts. Why does this work? And then once, as an engineer, once you understand why something works, then you can build the whole thing, right? So it's getting to that point, right? Because I didn't get to that point until like I'm a 1-stripe brown belt, and I would say until my late stage of my brown belt no stripe, that was when I started to be able to piece the concepts together. And then I was like, oh, I get this, and I don't need to like. I should drill it for explosiveness and and doing something very in a sense of like, okay, competition wise, right? You should drill it, but visually and mentally, I understand the move and I know why this connects to that, right? So I might not be able to do it as fast when I first do it without drilling it, but at least I know how to do it and I can get there, right? So then you practice that move on white belts until you can do it to blue belts and purple belts, and then after the purple belts, it was like, oh, I can hit this in live, rolling like with anybody now, right? So it's really like just taking your time visualizing, in my opinion, when you don't have time to be at the gym all the time. So that's just the tidbit maybe help you out or whoever else out there. I can understand that. I mean, I'm not as old, but I'm getting there. Like I can see it's probably going to be less and less time on the mats as I'm getting married, eventually going to have kids, then what else after that comes with that,
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've always liked to watch you and Nate, right? Because when I started, you guys were kind of like where I am now, and back then I was like, man, those guys. You know what I wanted to do? I just wanted to be able to roll enough to where I would be fun. Like I could have fun, and the other person would have fun rolling with. Like you know what I mean? Like when you go,
when you have a good match, yeah,
right. It's a decent match, and it's like entertaining for both. Like, and I would watch you guys because you guys aren't huge guys, and like about the same size, and I was like, man, I want to be kind of like that. And then I watch, and I feel like I'm kind of like where you guys were back then, but now I roll with you guys, and then something's happened. You know what I mean? Like like something's happened. Like whatever I do, like you have an answer, and you're like that, and Nate's like that too, where something's shifted, and like you just have a step ahead. So maybe someday, maybe I'll be like I can get to that level.
Yeah, I think everybody that's been on the show that's been talking about what is the key, right, to getting good is just showing up. That was Razors, black belt, Nate, a brown belt, and then Ron, black belt. All of them were like, just show up and you'll be fine, right? So as long as you're showing up, I think the extra stuff, if you want to get there even quicker, is the visualization part of it. But it's just showing up, and eventually you will get there, and I think it's all about just being able to understand the concepts. I think once you get to that point, then it's like, oh, he's got his leg there. I can do 50 things from there, and then you decide which thing you're gonna do in your brain, right? But I think once you get into the competition side of it, that's where it gets really funky and crazy, and that's where I'm trying to get my next part down, where I understand the teaching aspect and the rolling aspect, but now the competition, I've never been good at anything in competition. I used to do like these fighting games, it was called Marvel Street Fighter, I don't know, Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I would be pretty good at home, right? But then once I went to the arcade,
about a video game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once I went to like the arcade, I would be like, and I couldn't even like shoot a fireball. Like I would be so shaky, and my anxiety would be so high, and I'm like, man, I just never was good at competition. I like competing against people I know in a friendly environment, right? Because I know you and I can talk crap and whatever. But once it becomes like a stranger and it's like, well, let's just see who's the best, then I start freaking out, even though I know my skills are very high level, I freeze up. That whole confidence part comes in, and this is where my next journey is going to try to figure out is how do I beat this competition fear, and how do I get through these anxieties and all these crazy thoughts and all that nonsense. But it's helped you in your life. It's given you so many benefits. And I'm assuming, right, most doctors in the field, I think in our gym there was only two, you and Vadim. Before there was John Erickson too, which I wish he was still here because he's a surgeon for actual orthopedic.
He's orthopedic.
Yeah, he's orthopedic. Yeah, so he would have been great to have on the show. He moved to New York. Maybe in the future or something I'll have him on. But he trained Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu. Very few doctors I know would get into combat sports. I think even Ron, he knew a neurosurgeon that's a part of that, or trains with the Danaher Death Squad, and he's a high level black belt. He heel hooks and does all that stuff with like Gary Tonin and all those guys. I forget his name. It starts with a Y. Like Yves or something like that, or Yves. I don't know. I'm gonna screw it all up, but yeah, he's a very high level jiu-jitsu guy. That's a neurosurgeon. Like, you know, not too many doctors though, I would think, would be getting into this stuff, and maybe it's due to like they just have no interest in keeping themselves physically in shape or whatever. But would you recommend this to your doctor?
Oh, I think I'd recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stress in a lot of jobs, but doctors are under a lot of stress.
Oh yeah, it's a whole nother.
And I think there's nothing that's helped me with stress like rolling. Excuse me.
Oh,
Get a drink.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing like. I'm not really a big talker. You know what I mean? Like, some people deal with stress by like going out and talking, chatting things up with your friend, and that doesn't really. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me that much. You know.
Yeah.
The only thing that helps me really when I'm really stressed, like there's a lot of administrative stuff, or like my patients don't do well, and like it's just going to the gym and rolling and just sweating and just being totally exhausted. And you know, whether you win or lose, or it just doesn't matter. But afterwards, you just feel clean, and you just feel so good. And I think a lot of people, doctors, anybody would benefit from that.
Yeah, high stress job.
Yeah, and the other thing it does, it just keeps you very humble. Very humble.
Which
right?
I don't think doctors have, right?
There's a lot of doctors who might not, who could use that.
They're like God complex.
Because there's a lot of hierarchy, right, in the hospital, right? And a lot of times the doctors are near the top of the food chain, and so, you know, a lot of people just kind of do what you say, and you can get away with a lot of things. And it's good to go and see that no matter what what title you have, there's some 20-year-old guy who can armbar you in a minute. You know, it brings you down to earth. You know,
absolutely.
Put things in perspective a little bit.
Yep. So, if you're a doctor out there and you need some physical activity, Sung highly recommends jiu-jitsu, as do I, and Vadim and John Erickson. So, plenty of doctors to recommend it. Before we move on into the next segment, there's something I wanted to share with the viewers. It's a letter you wrote to me, or email. I'm sorry, it was an email that you wrote to me. It was during a time where I was going through a lot of stuff. I had my heart broken. You remember? I'm not going to mention any names or whatever, but I had my heart broken, and my head was very low. Like I felt just darkness about approaching new opportunities, relationships, any area in my life that could have been positive. I looked at it with like a negative spirit, right? It was like my spirit, everything was broken. My heart got crushed. After I shared these things with you, you like really shined this insight on me that I never looked at through any lens in my life. Nobody's ever shared anything like that with me. And I'm going to read the letter. It's from you. It said, Simon, I was thinking about that story you told us the other day about the girl saying she was going to meet up with you and then flaking out. This is something I wish someone had told me a long time ago. Marriage is half love and half of business proposition. How well you do in your business, finances, your personal life, your kids, your life depends so much on your wife. So when you evaluate a woman, don't just look at her at a girl, like a girl, how she looks, how cute she acts. If you think like this, you let people get away with far too much. Perhaps even importantly, ask yourself, would I start a small business with this person? Is she trustworthy, honest, hardworking? This puts a different perspective on your interactions. If a girl says she will meet up with you and then flakes, if you just think of her as a girl, then you let it slide. Think the usual BS like maybe it's my fault. She doesn't like me that much. When you think of her like a possible business partner, then you realize that good people don't stand other people up. They do what they say they are going to do. It frees you from a lot of personal nonsense and lets you read that person more accurately. Honest people act honestly all the time, regardless of who they deal with. if you wouldn't invest your hard-earned money with that person because they are not worth of your trust, then in my opinion, you shouldn't waste your time with them as a friend or girlfriend either. That right there, you could probably write a book on. This is gold, right? Like that email changed my whole perspective of how I looked at every interaction in my life. People wasting my time, relationships I pursued after that treated me like garbage, that undermined me. And I always blame it on myself, right? It was always like, oh, I'm not good enough, or da, 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 da. And I would always put myself down. And you were the first insight, the only insight I've ever gotten where it's like, hey, the reason why isn't because you suck or anything like that. You have to look at it in a more like objective view. Let's take you suck out of this picture, and let's look at it as the other person, right? And let's look at her objectively, or the relationship objectively. Because I also use this actually with some of my friends, that I felt were taking some advantage of me, So it was the first time where I was like, man, I can't have this in my life. Like I need to stop wasting my time with people that waste my time, right? And I immediately after that, I looked at myself so much higher in value. And that was the first time where I ever walked with my head high, I did when I was younger, but then I went through a lot after college. So after college, like I went through a very depressive stage, and kind of like ups and downs through my martial arts stuff. It helped me up down. But really after this letter, I've never looked at myself that way ever again. And my head's always been high since then. So anybody out there, this letter, the words in it, there's so much wisdom in it. And I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I guess my question to you would be like, where did this come from? Like, how did you come up with this?
Simon, I've been married a long time, and I've known a lot of couples and things like that, and I've seen a lot of people like who kind of went through some of the stuff that you were going, and some of the nicest guys that I know kind of get taken advantage of in certain ways like that. And like guys who had so much going for them, and like you, I look at you, I think you are just, a great guy. You just honest, nice, I think you'd be a great catch. And
thank you.
No, and I totally mean that. And and I've met some other people. Like I have a cousin who was very similar, just like you, and guy I really liked. I had another guy in med school who was like that, and sometimes they would get down on themselves and I was like, this is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And there's some weird dynamics that I don't totally understand sometimes, between men and women, but like a few things I do know, and is that if you don't value yourself, and you don't value, and you don't think that you have a lot of intrinsic worth, that shows. And a lot of times that has nothing to do with what you do, and what I mean, it's just a feeling, and it doesn't make any sense, and it shouldn't be there. But if you don't have that feeling, then other people will kind of feel that, and they'll take advantage of you, especially someone who's really nice and just a really kind guy like you.
Yeah.
And that to think that because someone stands you up, that's your fault. I think that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because and it's just like I said, like I've been fortunate enough to work and deal with a lot of really nice people, and a lot of really nice women, like hardworking, honest women. And I think about them, and like if they, even if they're not totally interested in you, right? If they say, I'm going to meet Simon at 6:00, they're not going to cancel, right? If they don't want to meet you, they're going to call you and say, Simon, I'm sorry, this is not for me,
Yeah.
And so you got to think about it like that way, So that part of it, and then I think that who you marry has such an incredible deal with how you do in your life, you know, and it really, look, your finances, you know, your job, your kids, it's all like a small business.
Yeah.
And it really is, and you have a partner.
Yeah.
Right. And it's financial, it's emotional, it's everything. So you got to have someone reliable. You got to have a good, honest person. Like that. That's where that came from. I forget. Maybe I read it in some book. I can't even remember. But I totally believe that.
Yeah.
You gotta find somebody who's honest and someone. And like I told you also that I think the key to like making marriage work is it's just like anything else. It's grit. You need to find someone who's not going to quit on you, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter who you marry, like no matter how great they are, you're going to go through rough times. Bad things are going to happen sometimes. Yeah. And like, you know, you don't want somebody who's going to quit on you. And people who quit, they're going to quit on this and the next thing and the next thing.
Wow,
right?
That's
and
deep.
people who don't, they're just not going to quit. And so they'll stay with you forever.
Wow.
Know? And that I'll give to my wife, because my Amy, you know, my wife Amy, like, and I are about as opposite as you can get. You know, I'm like, you know, people always tell me I'm too militaristic and I'm like too serious, and you know, they're probably right about all of it. And my wife is like a real free spirit from San Diego, like,
hippie.
But yeah, and but you know, the thing about her is like, and me too, is that my wife just on marriage. Like she doesn't quit. Like she never had the thought, you know, and so we've gone through hard times for sure. And you know, sometimes we continue. We have fights and all sorts of things, but you know, she's just not a quitter, and neither am I.
There you go. That's some incredible advice, and I really thank you. You know, because I mean, I'm about to get married, so definitely, I walked into that. I walked into pursuing her with this mindset. And I was like, anytime that I felt she was playing a game, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to waste my time, you know? And I think in any other situation prior to that, I would have been like, oh no, it's, you know, did I do something, you know? And she probably would have been able to pick that up. The desperation probably been like, I'm not interested, you know, but not this time.
So I'm curious. So if she did something that wasn't quite right, and then you would just kind of call her on it. Then how did she respond when you did that?
She never really did anything that was like terrible, right? Like I scared her a couple times. I said something stupid, and it kind of scared her, you know. So she would pull back a little bit, and but I appreciated that because she was honest with me, right? And I think that was one of the big things. What you were saying was like, a honest person is always honest, and that's what she was. She was always honest with me. Yeah. So I looked at her way higher in regard compared to other relationships I pursued after. For me, whenever there was something that I felt like she was kind of like, okay, well, I need to call you out on it, she would always take it in with, I mean, she would, you know, a little bit of fear, uncertainty, but she always respected it. She always respected my opinion or how I felt. If I said something that was completely wrong, she would call me out, you know, and she would do the same with me. So there's just what I always really appreciated with her, my fiance, is that she's just honest with me, you know, and we have real honest conversations. It's never ever at a point where it's like, I think she's trying to play a game, you know, and she reads me pretty well. I read her pretty well. So it's like whenever she's going through something, I can already hear it in her voice. And same with me, she'd be like, did something happen? And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, that's how it works with us. So
that's good.
But yeah. I'm very blessed in this relationship. You know, nothing's perfect. We have our fights and stuff like that. I mean, I got a little cold feet during you know, it's not like she doesn't know. We've had conversations about it during the engagement. It got really rough because you know, just when you get engaged, it's just the whole world's just like, what's going on, you know. And you're about to do something super serious. And you're just like, what do I do? So there was a lot of fear on my end, but like you said, the grit, right? I had to keep pushing and keep fighting, and now we're in a really good place, you know. And same with her. At some point, she was really scared, and she was like, "I don't think I want to." And then for her, she had to push through, you know, and she did. And then, you know, now we're in this situation where we're happily planning this wedding, you know. So yeah, everything you're saying is spot on. I think it could benefit many people out there. So I don't know. You might be on Oprah.
I don't
write
think
a
so.
book.
I don't think I'm qualified.
Dr. Son of Love.
No, I'm not qualified. You know, I'm like an engineer by training. Yeah. You know, I've explained to people before, like in engineering terms, it's like your relationship should not be a negative feedback loop. In other words, if I do something nice for you, you should do something nice for me. You know what I mean? But not tit for tat.
No,
in general, if I'm nice to you, you should be nice to me. But there are people out there. Like where I'm nice to you, and then you do something rotten to me.
Yeah,
and
they give crap.
Yeah, that's a negative feedback. The nicer I am to you, the more you take advantage of me, and it's a negative. And those people, you don't want to deal with those people. Yeah, like that doesn't work.
The circuit's not working. Yeah. So I want to thank you for sharing this with me, and this connects to the next part. So on your pursuit with your wife, how did you go about it? How did you meet her? What were you looking for in a woman? Like, were your parents happy with her?
So you know, that's kind of a funny story. Like I met her while I was stationed in San Diego, and I went to this Korean American Professional Association. You know, it was 20 something Korean people in San Diego, and I saw her, and the first time I met her was at a karaoke bar, because that was like the after party.
Was it like you knew when you met her, like that feeling?
You know, I gotta tell you, I met her that night, and I was really wow.
That's how I felt.
I was like, wow. And you know, it's funny, and she was really friendly to me, and we were talking, and she looked so good, and she was so nice, and I was like, wow, man, she's something.
Yeah.
But you know what I didn't realize though is that she was the secretary of this organization. So basically, it was her job to be friendly to everybody. So you know, it's funny. Like I saw her and I was like, man, she's kind of into me, you know, and and I was looking forward to seeing her again. It was like a couple weeks later, and I thought I was gonna meet her and we're gonna have this great conversation and everything. And she kind of went down there and she kind of brushed past me and kind of ignored me, and I was like,
oh wow.
I was like, what is going on? This is not computing to me. And so I was thinking about it. And you know, I was engineer trained, and I was going through all the scenarios, blah blah blah, and somehow I got in my head, is she's not interested in me, or no? It couldn't be that. I was like, I must have done something that made her mad, right? So I got in my head somehow that she was mad at me. So I called her and left a message at her house, and then she didn't get back to me because she didn't get the message from her sister for a couple weeks, and I remember this very vividly. I was we were in port, and I was the officer, and I was in charge.
Oh, this was you're still in the military.
I was still in the military. Wow. I was about to get out, and I got on the phone with her, and I'm talking to her, and it was the weirdest conversation, because I go, one of the first things I said to her is, "Are you mad at me?" And she goes, "What? Why would I be mad at you?" And then, see, my whole theory was totally blown.
Yeah.
And then, so I really didn't know what to say. So the next thing I said was, okay, well, maybe we should go out to dinner. So then, we went out to get something to eat, and then we just hit it off right away.
Wow.
And basically we were inseparable, ever since then.
It just was meant.
Yeah.
Meant to be. That's awesome.
Yeah. But basically, our whole marriage was based off a miscalculation.
Like most things, right?
On my part.
Yeah, I actually, that's funny, because when I first met my fiance, she was ignoring me, but I thought she was purposely ignoring me. And the whole night I was trying to get her attention, but she would come up to me and talk to me for 10 seconds and then walk away. I'm like, why is she doing this? Is she playing with me? I'm like, she's signaling that she's interested, but she wants to see what I'm gonna do. And the whole night I kept trying to get her attention, but she wouldn't give me a thing. So that right before the night ended, I was like, I have to get her attention. So I just went up to her and I just asked her, hey, would I wanted to talk to you a lot more. I didn't get a chance to. You look like you were busy. I don't think she was busy. You know, so then I was like, but would you be opposed to me coming up to New York, because that's where she lives, to visit you and take you out and get to know you? And she was like, no, I really like that. But not knowing that she didn't even, so afterwards we talked about it now. She's like, she had no idea that I was even interested. It was just what, so for her, it was just, it was just going over her head and she had no idea. So again, a misunderstanding. And then we go on a date and then now it's like, boom, you know? So I guess all good things start with could possibly start with a misunderstanding, right? It's like, I thought this.
And as like, you know, and the funny thing afterwards is like, it wasn't like our families really like her family didn't like me that much. I think they thought I was okay, but basically I was about to be out of a job. I wasn't going to be making it. You know, I just had this idea I was going to go to school, and so her family was like, "Oh, I don't know about this guy." And then my family, you know, all my mom thinks about is like where you went to college. You know, she's like the typical Asian mom.
Tiger
you know,
mom.
she wants someone who went to Harvard or whatever, and Amy went to Irvine, which is a good school and everything. But she wasn't impressed, you know, and so you know that's kind of how we started. Like neither one of our families thought the other one was great, but you know we just got along. We were so easy to talk to her, and like even though we're totally different. Right. It's good chemistry.
Married. Yeah, man, that's awesome. So yeah, some good advice. I think just, you know, looking at it from that perspective, it's like, I think a lot of guys like try so hard or whatever, and like they fail. I think it's once you, like for me, it was like once I stopped putting the pressure on myself and I just said, hey, you know what? Like you had the confidence to be like, well, it can't be me. It can't be me, right? I mean, you know, you got to have a level of confidence, right? And
that was just his blindness.
Really. So then, you know, and then just being real, you know, I think that honest conversations and stuff like that. Jeff actually talked about the scientific reasoning of how you could, you know, something like that could happen. Is he spoke about familiarity, that the more neural connections you make with somebody that are positive, the more likely you are to fall in love or like that person and things like that. Which is why, like, we were talking about like Tinder and things, you know, where it's just not based on any neural connections. It's strictly your what is that part of your brain, the lizard part, which is like, you know, just like, woo, beautiful, I want, you know. So typically things like that don't really last, you know, a lifetime. But he talked about the creating these neural pathways and making positive connections whenever you see this person or anything that reminds you of them. So that was interesting, like talking about that. But you know, this is like a jiu-jitsu, life and love podcast, right? Like, all things are covered. So but yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think the next thing I want to get into is your fatherhood, right? Like I think you're such an awesome dad. Like this is amazing. Just your daughter Haley is like a big. I mean, she's probably. I mean, I'm thinking she's gonna hit the Olympics one day. But she's a gymnast, correct?
Yeah.
And she's been doing a lot of competitions and winning, like kicking some butt out there. I think you've attributed a lot of your wife to that success. Yeah. And then Ella, who's just an animal. She's about to go to college and very intelligent girl, very funny girl, very tough girl. I feel like you've prepared her for the world. You know, she's ready. If somebody tries to mess with her, she's ready to knock them out. Like, you know, but then she's also ready to, you know, tackle on any things that come along her way. You can just tell that by her character. I think the first thing I want to get into is, what do you think is the most important thing when it comes to like raising children right? You know.
So I think the two most important things are unconditional love and structure. I think those are the only things that you can really give your kids.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a lot more affectionate than like kind of the generation before.
Yeah.
Like I've always kind of wanted that, you know, for my kids, and so you know I make it a point. You know, I hug and kiss my girls all the time.
Yep.
I try to give them a kiss before I leave, and you know I tell them I love them all the time, and so I try to be very affectionate with them, and you know as far as structure, you know we just put them into we just try to help them find what they want. And my wife has been really, you know, with Ella, her like interests like really align with mine, so it's really it's been easy for
She's
that.
a little you.
In a lot of ways, like yeah. And then so she always loved music. She always loved martial arts, and so she kind of went along with me, and so that part was easy. But with Haley, it wasn't as easy because you know, we took her to Taekwondo, but she had no interest, interest. And like,
she's more girly.
Yeah, if we left her there, like it wouldn't have been good. But you know, my wife is really good about like checking things out and so she took her out to like dance and all sorts of different things, and like she took her to gymnastics. And you know, funny thing is, looking back, Haley would always love the monkey bars. She always wanted to go to the playground, play on the monkey bars. You know, I never thought anything of it, but like, but then Amy took her and like checked her out gymnastics, and you know, Haley's gymnastics thing, like, you know, there's different, like even branches in gymnastics. There's the really competitive, I think it's called the IGC, and then there's the non-competitive. And she started older, you know, like a lot of girls start out when they're
super young,
super young, 3 and 4. Like I forget, but she was like, I don't know, I want to say 8 or something like that. And she started in the non-competitive branch, but she got really good and she got better, and then she switched to the other branch. And I remember some of her coaches even at that point were skeptical, and I remember one of them told her, "You're not that good."
Wow.
You know, but she wanted it, and she got, and I tell you, Haley, I always knew that Ella was like this. Ella was, she's always been like a really kind of like really like bubbly, kind of tough little kid.
Yeah.
But Haley was always kind of the really girly girl. And I don't know if you know this about Haley, but Haley was born with a heart defect. And
so wow, I didn't know that.
When she was about 4 years old, and she's always been really small, and she had open heart surgery at CHOP.
Wow.
So after that, I think, you know, maybe that after she had that fix, maybe she had a little more energy, maybe, you know, but anyway, my point is that my wife and I never had that expectation for Haley. We just thought she was our cute little Haley. You know, we always called her baby Haley, and all of a sudden she started like getting really good at gymnastics, and she's like, she kind of amazes me. She's so driven, and she we don't tell her to go. She just wants to go. And if I wanted to punish her, I'd say, I'm not going to let you go to gymnastics today. Like, and that'd be a big thing. One time I grounded her and I didn't let her go for a few days, and she was really like upset. But she got better and better and better, and she's like very competitive too. She's like my wife. She loves the competition. It doesn't really bother her. And like,
wow.
And so she got higher and higher, and she was competed at level 9 this year.
I don't know what that is.
so it goes from, I think, level 1 up to 10. Right?
Oh, okay.
And then once you get to 10, then you're like some kind of elite, and you go to like all over the country, and those are the kids who are Olympic hopefuls. And so
she's working towards that.
She's at 9, and she probably will go to 10 later.
That's incredible.
Year. So,
wow.
So she's probably a little old for the Olympics, to be honest, but just to get to that point, I mean, I think it's amazing, and I tell her that all the time. Like, you know, and she's so competitive and like wants to be good at things, and like I tell you, something that amazed me is like at level 8 and level 9, she won the state. Like she used to be really good at the uneven bar, and she won the state tournament, like that event, the state tournament, like I think 2 or 3 years in a row.
Wow.
And this year at regionals, she won the uneven. So that's regionals is like where you have like 3 or 4 states, like New Jersey, New York, like Virginia, and she won this event.
That's
you know?
incredible.
but she was pissed off because she didn't get to nationals. And I'm like, man, you really are a little tiger mom, you know, like. So, anyway, like her athletic career, like. She's by far the most accomplished athlete in our family.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's just a complete surprise to me.
Wow.
And I still think it's amazing, and it's all due to her and my wife finding it and taking her, and like Amy like drives her and takes her to competitions. All I do is pay. Like, that's my whole deal. That's all I've ever done in her gymnastics. It's all Haley. It's all
an investment.
Amy. But yeah. We'll see. You know, just in and of itself, I think it's a great accomplishment for her, and like it's given her so much confidence. I just think sports are so good for the kids, and honestly, like in terms of pushing our kids and stuff, it's all my wife. I tell you, it's all my wife, and I tell you, my job as a cancer doctor, having seen kids with cancer, and like. What they go through in their families, it's made me like even softer. Like I honestly, what I tell my girls these days is it'll be kind of surprising, but I tell my girls, you only owe me one thing. Like you owe your dad one thing, and that one thing is to never die before me. That is the one thing you can't do. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. Whatever you do, I don't really, and I tell them, I don't care what your job is. I don't care what your finances are. Whatever. You just cannot die before me. But I think with that it carries a lot of things. I think it means that you can't make stupid choices. You can't hang out with dangerous people.
Yeah.
You don't put yourself in stupid, dangerous situations. So that's what I tell my girls. You know?
Wow. Yeah. Actually, my next question was, what would you define having a successful child? I guess you answered it. You know, just stay alive.
That's the most basic thing. Yeah. To me, like the saddest thing in the world is when you lose a child. Like you know, it's just not the natural order of things. It's it's the saddest thing in the world.
Wow.
You know. Yeah.
So the two things that you treasure is for raising children is unconditional love. What was the second thing again?
And structure.
And structure. Yeah. So I guess for the parents out there that are struggling with their kids and you know like what do I do? Maybe it's maybe you got to show more unconditional love at home. Maybe you need to put a little more structure in their life. You know.
Structure is like. Is sports I think is a really good part of structure. I think it's great to have, and my girls understand that like to me safety is paramount. So there are certain things I just won't allow. Like I don't like them being out late. Because it just makes me nervous.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. It's most of the time it's not even your own kids. It's the stupid decisions of other people that affect your own children, and it's unfortunate that we have to be so careful these days. But that's just the reality now. Unfortunately. So we're closing up with this episode, and I pretty much have two more things. So number one is you do a lot, right? You're a doctor, family man. You have your own hobbies that you do, and then you're a martial artist. So in order to fit all these things into your schedule, how do you do it? Like how do you stay the high level, what's the word? Just like performer. You have to perform at your job, obviously, and then you perform at the gym, and then you got to be a present husband and father. Like how do you do it? Is there like maybe is a coffee thing is something you do a lot, drink a lot, or supplement you take, something that helps you, I guess in a practical sense, boost you when you are struggling, or is it just pure sheer will?
I think that the exercise really helps my energy. To be honest, I really like the exercise that we do at the gym is like pretty intense. And like Saturdays we'll go to we'll sometimes we'll go kickbox, then we'll go to wrestling, and then we'll do
you do the whole
jiu-jitsu.
day,
Like so, like to be honest, like the stuff physically during the day is like it's mental. It's mental, right? But physically, it's pretty easy. You know what I mean? Especially if you exercise, and I think that really helps a lot. But like fitting things in, like I'm a very like kind of structured type of guy. So, and I think it's really good to integrate things into like bring parts of your family into your hobbies. Like that's why I got 2 teenage girls, right? And so like I want to spend time with them, and so it's hard because teenagers don't want to hang out with their dad most of the time. So for me, going to the gym with Ella is like a really nice opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Like I spend like a few hours with her usually on Saturday. Maybe I spend a couple hours with her on Tuesday when we go. And after we go to the gym, we always go out to eat, right after we go up to those North Brunswick shops and we get some, Chipotle or whatever and things like that. And then like there are certain things I do with my wife. Like we have Friday date night.
Yeah, that's your date night. Yeah.
Right, and we're like very strict about that. Like we don't miss it. We don't miss it. Like even if sometimes I have to work late. Like sometimes there have been times I haven't got home till 8 on Friday or 9. But even so, we still go out. Like, and we'll go out someplace that stays up late, like Americana Diner or someplace. Have a cocktail and have something to drink, and
that's really nice.
And so I just try to build that in. So it's that's the only I guess advice I have. It's just kind of structure, make it automatic.
Structure and exercise. What about sleep? That's something that I struggle with a lot. I think I probably have sleep apnea. I'm trying to get a study done, but in terms of sleep, like how do you sleep like the 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day? Are you like one of those type A personalities that can sleep 4 hours and you're ready out the door? Like
I probably get between 6 to 8 hours.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
And you're very disciplined with your sleep.
I get a decent amount of sleep. Yeah.
It's good to know.
That's my Haley right now. Oh. So Haley is like a little ball of energy, and so she cooks and so she cooks something for dinner. And she's always got to do something. Yeah. So she's like,
that's funny.
So she's like calling me about dinner, I think.
Well, we're at our last question anyway, so you can go home and get a nice dinner with your daughter and family. My question that I have for everyone before I close it out is I'm always interested in knowing a special quirk about whoever I'm interviewing, and everybody's pretty much has surprised me. Well, Ron not so much because I already knew, but outside of Ron, I was like, what? Like Jeff, he told me he was really into D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I was like,
I could kind of see that. Yeah, I could kind of see that.
But then, he told me Steve and Dan are really hardcore
Dungeons. Oh, really?
Yeah, and Steve, I can't imagine. Dan a little bit more, but Steve, that guy's like a party animal. So, but I know you. So outside of medicine, and training and all that kind of stuff, family things. I know one thing that you love to do is play music with. You play guitar, right?
Yeah.
And then Ella also plays guitar and
yep.
You guys sing on stage at you do open house. And you guys aren't they just sing and you guys are really good. You guys could probably start a father-daughter band, legit, become famous for doing this. No, you guys are very talented. It's like Ella could probably go on one of those singing competitions and win. She could be, the next whatever. So I know you do that. Is there anything else that is in there that's, something that not many people know about?
So I'll tell you something funny about that is, the reason why I like to sing is because when we came to the U.S., right, what I remember is that is that I love Elvis Presley.
Oh wow!
So my dad got like Elvis Presley greatest hits on 8-track tape. I must have listened to that thing 1,000 times.
Wow!
Because
it just connected.
He got Elvis Presley and Johnny Mathis and the Carpenters, and like I just loved Elvis Presley, and like I've listened to that so much, and now that's the one guy that whatever song, like I can sing that. I got the same kind of range. So you not that I'm you know.
What you're telling me is you could be Elvis impersonator and like do that.
Yeah, I could go to Vegas.
Yeah, you can go to Vegas and like earn a little money doing that on the side. The Korean Elvis Presley.
Yeah, that'd be funny, right?
Yeah. Just for I mean, you probably could do it well.
I love Elvis. I love Elvis. And
wow.
Like some of the songs that like. You know, everything's repetition, right? Now, I've listened to some of his songs like literally thousands and thousands of times. So that's kind of where I wanted, and I would just sing along to Elvis, and so that's where I think I got the desire to like play music, and
that is awesome.
Yeah, it's from this Elvis Presley's greatest hits.
Yeah. This, fascination with Elvis. I'm gonna have to put Elvis on the next time we roll.
You're gonna get booed.
But this was such a fun episode, and and very meaningful to me. I actually reading this letter, as I was reading, I was like, oh man, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because like it's so funny. I store over the years, like I've stored all the gems that people have shared with me, like little quotes where they would just be talking, and I'm like, well, that's pretty deep. I need to write this down. I would write it down and just put it on my computer. But this was like an actual email, letter, and this was the one like big thing that like legit changed my life. Like not even hyping it up. Like this really changed my perspective in a lot of ways. So I hope it helps whoever is watching this. And thank you so much, for doing the episode and saving the lives that you save and doing everything that you do, man. I'm so glad that you're a part of my life. So, thank you, and
that's great.
Get home to your dinner.
Yeah. Hey, and I want to say that the reason why I like the gym is Brian's such a nice guy, and just a genuinely nice guy. Like I trust him with my family, like my Ella, and hangs out, and there's just a lot of good guys, and you're like one of the best. Like
wow,
when
when
I was there, like you know how you can tell if someone's a good person, like is one if you need help, right? People who help people who are not going to benefit them, right? And when I was just a white belt and had no idea what I was doing, like you were probably the guy who helped me the most, right? At that point, you know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of a pain, a lot of times, right?
It is, yeah.
Like you're not getting anything out of it, right? You're not having any fun rolling with them, and you probably tell people this 100 times, but you helped me out a lot, and you taught me a lot of stuff.
Wow.
And it's guys like you that are a big reason why I think the gym is successful, and why people like going there. So.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that means a lot. I don't even think about that, but I really appreciate it. So, that's episode 7, and
right.
Thank you, Sung. Have a good night.
It's fun.
Get home safe.
Thanks.
Yeah. What's up, everyone? Thanks so much for watching the episode. If you liked what you saw, make sure to subscribe, comment, like, and definitely share, because you never know who this could help. If you'd like to buy any of the products that were discussed, the links are all available in the description below under the video. Make sure to use my links so that I can get paid. And if you'd like to further support what I'm doing, you can send me Bitcoin and Litecoin to my wallet addresses that are also in the description. Thank you all again so much for watching and your support for the project. Peace!